Lo-Fi Games has been working on Kenshi 2 for over 4 years now, so here's everything you need to know all in one video. Welcome everybody, it's your boy Cool Kid Croc here, and it's been over 2 years since I made my last Kenshi 2 news video. So today we're going to be catching up on everything that is new news as well as confirmed officially from Lo-Fi Games. I put this video off for a while since I already covered a lot in the first video, but now there's so much more information, it's definitely worth making this second video. We're going to be looking at all the newest information as well as screenshots and videos that have been released by Lo-Fi Games all about Kenshi 2. But this time we're going to be going backwards in the timeline until we get to the start. So starting from 2023 all the way back to 2019, let this video be a timeline and sort of like an index up to the upload date. It took me a lot of work to gather over 4 years of information, so leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the Kenshi content, that's all I really ask. But before I get into that, let me just say Kenshi 2 doesn't have a release date yet, so you're not going to get that from this video. I know there's a lot of hype and excitement around that, but the fact that the game has been in development for over 3 years and fantastic and hopefully foreshadows a high quality game. I make a lot of different Kenshi videos and plan to be with you guys all the way into the release of Kenshi 2, so if this video helps you out, subscribe to the channel. With all that out of the way, let's get into all of the details. I'll have the video in chapters so you can easily find all of the information, as well as I'll try to include all of these sources I used in the bottom of this video's description. Now, there hasn't been any new news for the first few months of 2023. Currently, we know that Kenshi 2 is an upcoming prequel to Kenshi, which is still in development by Lo-Fi Games. It's going to be set around 1,000 years prior to the original game, and the setting will be in a post-apocalyptic state. The only difference around this time is that the game might have slightly more advanced technology when compared to Kenshi 1. Now rewind the clock, and the most recent update we got that I know of for Kenshi 2 is from October of 2022, so we'll start from there and then we'll go back. We got a lot of information related to the localizations and languages that will be supported in Kenshi 2. If you don't know, Kenshi 1 has been adding more languages and updates and localization updates since release, which ultimately will help communities that speak other languages get involved in the world and the game. This came with a screenshot from what looks like Kenshi 2 alpha stuff, just some people standing around with one talking. The models in this look a little more realistic when compared to the Kenshi 1 models, but hopefully we'll still have some of the wacky possibilities we currently have. I mean, I'll be really upset if I can't create some of the disturbing creations I have anymore. There isn't a lot else to cover there though. I mean, I expect the game to release in multiple languages, so that's sweet for everyone who doesn't speak English. At very least, if a dev team has started to work on localization, that means that a lot of the groundwork for the game is probably done or at least near complete. The game itself might not be finished, or it might still be a long way off, but it's a big step for development of any game. Now between this post and for nearly a year we had no updates, but in December of 2021 a lot of information came out about Kenshi 2. To start off this community update, we see a video in which we can see the concept of having a town and being able to divide the towns and settlements into different districts. This means cities in Kenshi can now have a rich and a poor class, or even be separated by race or faction, even their own individual names. This will add a lot of potential to the game. I mean, in Kenshi 1, most of the cities kind of just everyone lives in a cluster, it's a big mess. There's very little actual hierarchy between citizens. Something like this can really add a lot more interdynamics and stories that can be created, such as gangs and other factions within cities. The devs emphasize that they want modders to also have the same tools, which is fantastic to hear. I mean, not everybody plays with mods, but for those of us who do play with mods or even make our own Kenshi mods, this is great. Kenshi 1 has a lot of mods, but its potential is definitely capped. So if we end up getting the same tools that the devs have, we might end up seeing more complex and high quality mods being made for the game. This adds a lot of potential. I mean, there's already a lot of great faction and city mods for Kenshi 1, but it'd be just amazing to have full control and maybe create some conflicts or quests to be completed in a modded city. Moving on, there was an outtake which I thought was pretty cool. We can see two characters here running across some land with some flames at their their feet with each step. This won't be in the final game, kind of unfortunately. It's pretty cool. But still, either way, it's pretty interesting and likely shows that there's going to be pretty sweet particle effects. I wonder where these flames will actually be popping up in the game. Next, there are two different videos about the lighting in Kenshi 2. If you've played Kenshi 1, I'm sure you've noticed how the lighting is different from location to location, and depending on what time of day, as well as what way your character's standing and where the sun is shining, it all impacts how you, of course, end up seeing the game. In Kenshi 2, we can see a smooth transition into a different part of a map in which the devs will be able to adjust lighting and transitions. Stuff like fog and different weather effects all make a difference, so having good lighting is really important. Sure, it might not affect gameplay mechanics, but it does affect our visual experience while playing the game. Next, going into October of 2021, this community update was about the Hivers of Kenshi 2. Beep and many Hivers stand out in Kenshi 1 as some of the best characters and factions, so it's great news that the devs are focused on expanding the Hivers by making each Hiver faction variations and different in their own ways, while trying to stick true to the original design of a Hiver, but also expand on it. The prototype models for the Hiver look insanely detailed compared to the Kenshi 1 Hiver models. When zoomed out in Kenshi 1, the characters are visible, but when you zoom in, it truly allows you to see a lot more detail. I gotta say, if the Kenshi 2 character models do look like this, it's going to be mind-blowing. In my opinion, the Kenshi 1 character models are fantastic, but they have more of a similar feeling to games like Oblivion, where characters seem less like people, but more of kind of like cartoonish. Kenshi 2 not only looks a lot more immersive and realistic, but it also still maintains that unique visual design that Kenshi has. The next piece of news would be about the Kenshi 2 River Raptors, which was discussed in a community update from May of 2021. In this update, we start by seeing a highly detailed model of what a River Raptor currently looks like in Kenshi 2. The new design stays true to the original, but somehow makes them look even more gross and much more bulky and chubby, with there being two different variants this time. One of them has spikes, and one of them doesn't. I mean, so far I gotta say, I love all the character and animal models in Kenshi 2, but let me know what you guys think of them in the comment section below. With an animal, or quite frankly, monster model like this, I just can't wait to see what some of the other models will look like for, say, the beak thing or the gorillas. The next piece of Kenshi 2 news talks about environmentalism, and this is all about how the devs are shaping the world and putting different biomes together. That way they can determine any problems that might arise. These problems just include basic things like population sizes and towns or texture limits and so on. But honestly, these photos look amazing and are a huge step up from Kenshi 1. Even in the first game, we're able to enjoy the scenery and take amazing photos and videos in the game. But I cannot wait to get into Kenshi 2 and find nice settings within the world to screenshot and share with you guys. Walls and gates in Kenshi 2 will be getting a huge overhaul as stated in a community post by the devs. They're currently working on making a more militaristic designed gate with walls being able to be customized so you can add things such as watchtowers or garrisons to the walls. I mean, this is huge. If anybody watches my Kenshi 1 playthroughs, you guys know I barely use the gates and walls because they're just pretty standard in design and honestly pretty bad looking. I mean, having a more useful and immersive design will be a huge step up. The next Kenshi update is both impressive and not impressive. The devs share a gif of a Kenshi 2 character running with his arms going wacky, along with people that look like they stole the skin of different humans and started wearing it. Apparently the characters were growing and shrinking as they breathed, which is not good. Alright, I gotta say that sounds like a Kenshi 2077, not Kenshi 2. That's why the game is in no rush. This was a couple years ago, so things like that are bound to happen while you're developing a game. I'm sure they're gonna plan to have that fixed before releasing the game, but it is a nice little insight into making the game. Kenshi 2 will have a much better building mode with, of course, a free placement design. The game will also include now a grid placement. That way, for everybody who's got a bit of OCD in them, we're finally going to be able to enjoy base building without spending centuries or countless hours just lining up chairs and different things. We'll also be able to attach furniture to each other, similar to how you would say place chairs with tables in a game like The Sims. items. And taking a look at 2 screenshots of potential Kenshi 2 house designs, I mean, these look pretty good. Really amazing designs, a lot more realistic and immersive than before. I mean, I would love to either live or shop here. This place looks great. The current system for building in Kenshi 1 is fine, but definitely if we can switch between a free placement and a grid placement system, that'll just make it even better. If you're feeling sad, then this is a news for you, because I think this piece of Kenshi 2 news is gonna light up your day. Okay, honestly, it isn't that cool, but this is some official concept art for different lights they plan to add into Kenshi 2. I'm not shitting you, okay? There's wall-mounted lights, which are convenient for walls and buildings, along with street lights, of course, to light up your storefront or roads. Alright, I know this Kenshi 2 news isn't that hype, but I'm trying my best, okay? Even though this isn't really much, it does show that the devs are focused on the little aspects of a world building, which in the end is the true light at the end of a tunnel. The monsters in Kenshi are some of the most memorable and unique creatures I've seen in gaming, and sure enough, the devs are making them even better in Kenshi 2. As you can see, the model for the Skimmer is already looking amazing. There's a lot of light reflection on his eyes, making him look like a little sweetheart, but I'm sure it moves around depending on the time of day as well as where the Skimmer moves. I gotta say though, this looks a lot more realistic compared to the Skimmer in Kenshi 1, and personally, I love it. I really want to see what all of other monsters and animals in Kenshi 1 will look like in Kenshi 2, so this is a great start. The next piece of Kenshi 2 news that was put out was this blueprint that was made. Now this is not what the buildings will look like in the final game, at least let's hope not. Could you imagine? But as we can see, these buildings are huge. Some of them are easily maybe 3 or 4 stories tall, meaning we're likely going to have a lot more unique interiors and buildings to explore in Kenshi 2. The first game is great and all, but the buildings start to feel quite cramped or repetitive to go to after enough playtime, so hopefully these will have multiple variations as well as plenty of different options to choose from. Designing a beautiful world for Kenshi 2 is at the top of a priority, so it was amazing to see one of the first pieces of Kenshi 2 early on in 2020 was none other than this screenshot of a landscape in Kenshi 2. There was an interview attached with this photo, which is a great read. The developer explains that there's some normal issues when making the map size work, as Kenshi 2 is supposed to be even bigger than Kenshi 1, and he also answers a lot of frequently asked questions about the world and map. Also a part of a Kenshi 2 world is the weather and sky. A lot of the scenery and beautiful locations in the game utilize the sky, and in this video footage we got to see what it's like when time is changing in Kenshi 2. Honestly, this is sick. The clouds look really nice, almost lifelike. The evening time and nighttime looks amazing as well, like the planet in the sky just pops out at night here. I really can't wait to see what Kenshi 2 looks like all put together with the sky on top of a complete game's map. Moving on, we haven't seen much concept art for the armor or weapons in Kenshi 2 other than these screenshots here. They were released early on near the announcement of Kenshi 2's development, and this is what the developers made. As you can see, there's some armor and it's placed on what would be a character model, and here's the source concept art that they drew inspiration from. Honestly, I think it looks pretty good. The ropes are pretty tight, there's lots of wacky stuff going on here, I love it. In 2019, Chris Hunt would announce that Kenshi 2 will be developed using Unreal Engine, which was really one of the first big devlogs put out about Kenshi 2. Kenshi 2 being developed with the Unreal Engine is going to be a big step up from the engine used to create Kenshi 1. That brings us to March of 2019, when Kenshi 2 wasn't announced in a community post or on Steam. It was in fact announced by Chris Hunt, the creator of Kenshi, on the Lo-Fi Games website. As he states, our original plan was to keep the new project quiet so we could work on it without public pressure and then do a big public release when we had something to show. However, it seems lots of people are getting confused or angry about us not still tinkering with Kenshi or leaving the world of Kenshi behind. So I'm going to go ahead and announce early what we are working on now, as I think it will put most people at ease. We are starting to work on Kenshi 2. It will be set 1,000 years in the past during the time of the Old Empire and reveal more of the world's lore and history. The next few points above the engine engine got changed with a post that I just talked about the Unreal Engine, but they've still been updating Kenshi 1 and applying bug fixes and whatnot to that, as well as core improvements to Kenshi 1. And that is everything. I don't think I missed anything. I mean, I looked as hard as possible, and this took weeks to put together. I try not to include any speculatory stuff or anything that wasn't official or straight from the source. Now, I've been making Kenshi videos for years now since the game came out, and I will continue to do so until the release of Kenshi 2, and then I'll make videos on that game as well. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to stick with me for the ride, remember to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. I also highly encourage you to join my Discord server, the link tree below. I'm hosting giveaways in there all the time and constantly interacting with my community. You can also follow my other social media sites where I pump out Kenshi clips and Kenshi posts regularly. I try not to spam Kenshi 2 videos. As you see, it took me years to make this one, but I mean, it was well worth it, hopefully. I think it's going to be useful to me in another year or two when the game's getting a release date and I have to make another one of these videos. Anyways though, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.